Probably shut the door. Dang 90s Ford door dinger. Welcome back to Welding and Wheeling. We're with our $400 Hydra skid steer today, which I'm really excited to work on. In the last episode, we bought this thing for $400 out of a field in Wisconsin. We pulled the engine and got it freed up and got it running on the bench, but our issues set in when we went to go install the engine and try and get it running in the machine. Our controls are all sorts of messed up, so the machine's trying to move around a bunch while we get it fired up. Also, our electronics don't work, so we don't really have a reliable way to start and kill the engine. So in today's episode, what we're going to start out doing is we're going to get the electrical figured out so we can start this thing and shut it off with the key. And then we are going to get it jacked up off the ground so that when we do get it running, it can sit here and freewheel all at once while we get the controls adjusted and figured out. But first, I'm going to eat my McDonald's burrito. Alrighty, been 2 weeks of proud ownership of this sweetheart. Not much has changed, which is good. This tire's going a little bit low, but I think the rest of them are looking pretty good. Yeah, I mean, that rear one's a little bit low, but I can live with that. I think these are tube type. Yeah, so I can just throw a tube in that other one. I wonder why this one's stud type and this one's bolt type. I don't know. Anyway, let's dig right into the electrical to start with. It looks remarkably complete around the engine, but our issues lie in this bird's nest of a control panel. I don't know. It still doesn't look that bad in there. It's just a lot of junk, so I'm hoping this isn't going to be a full rewire, but it might be. All right, well, first things first. Oh, lovely. Shit. Big ass bee's nest. Lovely. What a way to start out the morning. I apologize for the language, but I'm not a big fan of bees. Let's find something to eliminate those guys with. All right, I don't have any actual bee spray, so let's go through our options. We've got carbon throttle body, chain lube. I think that might be good to get them kind of stuck there. But the PP Blaster's got the long range on it. I'm gonna try, let's go with the spicy stuff. Starting fluid it is. Now, I should mention, I am mildly allergic to bees, so we'll see how this goes. You stay away. Go back in your home. See that one guy buzzing around? He's going to be a problem. All right, that did not kill him. Just makes him upset. They did all leave their home, though, which is good. Ah! Okay, well, they got evicted. Little squatters. Hopefully they don't try and come back since it smells like ether. Nice thing is now the electrical department is all flammable up now. Okay, well, lovely. Okay, let's get back to the original task. Oh, that gauge is destroyed. Let's just go ahead and get rid of that nest. There we go. Man, those gauges are crusty. Look at those things. Look at, oop, I just felt something fly on me. Rusty. All right, well, last time I was over here, I forgot to bring an actual battery. So we stole the 5-year-old one out of my Suburban. That should do good though. It's been a pretty good battery, so let's just make sure now that we have a battery, we don't have key power or something weird. Oh, one of our little stingy friends is back. Yeah, sorry buddy, your home's gone. I don't know what happened. Go away. Alrighty. Nothing. Let's see if we have power up there. All right, I'm not seeing power anywhere up here, and I tried a couple different ground spots. So, I don't know what would be incoming power. Maybe this big green wire is my guess. Let's see if we can trace that back somewhere. Goes through a wire loom up there. There's like a trailer plug back here. Forgot about that. Yeah, there's this guy. I don't know what that's doing, but the wiring in this section here ain't looking too hot. Let's see if we repower here. All right, well, in my poking and prodding, I took down, well, two things. One, electric pump's not being used, so I got that out of the way just to get rid of confusion. But two, we have this solenoid here. Now, I was a little confused originally why this solenoid was here, but it is basically acting as like a relay to trigger our starter. So we have power coming in on this side, and then our starter output on this side. Why is there two other wires though on our starter relay, you know? I don't know. Anyway, this I would assume is the trigger wire for this solenoid, and when we put power to it, it does nothing. So I think we have a bad solenoid actually. At least to start. I don't know why there'd be two other wires on. What would you send power to when the starter's on and only when the starter's on? I don't know. Alrighty, well, I even pulled this all the way off. I hooked the ground up to the ground, power to one side of this, and jumped it over to here, which has, I don't see any labels, but it's gotta be our control. And nothing happened, no clicking, no power. So I think this thing's pooched. We gotta go find another one. Well, $40 later, we have a solenoid that looks like it went through the Iraqi war, and an ignition switch in case that gives us issues. Thank you, AutoZone. Let's get back to the skid steer. Alrighty, new solenoid is mounted. Not sure how I feel about them mounting it to the side of the fuel tank like that, but I don't care enough to change it, so we're gonna let that ride. Let's go ahead and hook up power and see what happens, I guess. All right, I just tried the key. We still don't have power there, but we do have power at the solenoid now. So that's good. So now we need to run a contact wire up to our ignition switch, or oh, two of them. I don't know if you guys can see it, we're too zoomed out, but a wasp that just landed on my elbow. The ether just seems to kind of make them go away for a couple minutes. They probably get really high, but then they just show back up. I should have brought bee spray when I was at the parts store. Oh well. Hopefully they remain friendly like this. Well, I just undid that loom to that quick connector. Really wish I didn't, because I was actually okay with using some of this wiring. But now I'm not so confident. So it looks like we're going to be running new control wires up, which is good because this stuff looks like crap. So all I'm really worried about today is key power. I don't care about the hour meter gauge. I don't care about oil pressure. I don't think this even has an oil pressure reader on it other than maybe like a low pressure kill. So we can do away with a bunch of this and move on with our lives. So after seeing the shape of this harness and like these gauges, really no saving at. So we're just gonna do what everyone dreams of doing and just cut all the wiring out of this thing. It needs all new gauges. Well, maybe we could save these indicator lights look okay, so we'll give them some slack. Man, the bees are pissed. Go away. Clip that guy down there in case we want to reuse that. I don't think we will. Ooh, someone was in here with the Scotch locks. Lovely. It's the indication of a good wiring job. Going a little snip crazy, I know, but it's got to look worse before it looks better, right? See you later, old harness. You probably served your purpose well for 50 years. Actually, that's definitely not original, that's all. Probably 10, 15, 20-year-old stuff. All right. I'm wondering if we could save that ignition switch. It doesn't look that bad, and I wouldn't mind returning that other one I bought. Plus, I'm not sure if the one I bought is normally closed or normally open, and I would assume this one's set up correctly if it was in here before, so I wouldn't mind trying to save that. To do that, we should probably pull it out, PV blaster all those little connectors, and clean them up. So let's do that now. All right, so our old switch is not savable. Of course, our new switch didn't come with a diagram. This is a 5-pin switch, which is what you want for a modern engine like this usually. We have our yellow lead wire is hooked to positive. That's our B. Our green is ground. And I just wanted to double check. Obviously S is gonna be start, hopefully, if I can do this. Yep, so that's our start. And now we'll take our test lead and put the alligator clamp on the positive. I believe it's M usually. It's grounded currently when the switch is off. Now that it's on, okay, so off, grounded, on, open. So that's good. That means when we shut this switch off, it'll kill power to our ignition coil in this, so the switch will work for us. I only brought 3 flavors of wire today, but that seems to be okay. So we have our green for our starter, our yellow for our kill, and our black for our ground. We're gonna run those in the stock location up here. I don't have any wire loom with me today, but we'll definitely bring some. So now we just gotta go terminate these where they need to go on the engine. Alrighty, a little bit of a rat's nest, but that's just because it's not all buttoned up yet. And yeah, anyway, ended up changing the black is our battery power running forward. So we grabbed that from the solenoid here on the hot side. And then we did a little jumper ground up there to the dashboard itself. So we now have power to our solenoid, and then I ran this yellow wire all the way around to the black and white should be our kill switch over here on the Honda. So, except for charging system wiring, which I didn't really mess with, but I think this green wire probably needs to go to power, maybe. We're close, it just probably won't charge. It should start, should shut off with the key, so. Now we need to move on to jacking it up so we can test that theory. Alrighty, so jacking up the rear, not a big deal. Just going for the back. We got 2 5x5 blocks stacked. Pretty good. From the front though, since there's a bucket on it, we had to go in from the side and kind of stack them. We actually threw the blocks in first, then put the jack in, jacked it up, and I had to reach under the front and kind of stack them underneath. And then hopefully when we set it down, it doesn't go through my trailer. Okay, I need 2 hands to do that, but you can imagine what it looks like when a jack goes down. This side ended up being way more of a fiasco because I had to move the trailer fender, which thankfully are removable, but I don't pull them off much, so the wing nuts were pretty seized up. But ended up getting all the way off the ground. Not quite as high as I'd like, but we should be plenty good. And I'll be sitting in the machine ready to shut it off if something happens anyway. All right, we re-strapped it down just to, you know, kind of another safety blanket, make sure we stays put. Hook the battery back up, and I ended up pulling the intake off so I can get my hand onto that carburetor if our kill switch doesn't actually work like I think it should. Let's go ahead and see if this thing will die out of life now. All right, well, I just cranked on it for a while and thought you guys were watching, but you weren't. I shut the camera off, but we made some adjustments to the linkage. The one that's broken or cut, I took that collar apart and actually made sure the broken splines were lined up to make sure that control rod's the exact same length it used to be. So that seemed to help a little bit. Our whole control tower seems too far forward, and that means we're not gonna have much reverse, but I was just cranking it over and it seems like I've got it to where it mostly won't move. So it's good enough for me, but the engine won't start. So I'm wondering if I wired something up wrong and we have no ignition all the time now. All right, well, I threw a random plug on it to check for spark. We had absolutely nothing. So I ended up figuring out, I thought the yellow and black was the kill wire, but I guess it's the red and black is your kill wire. This has something to do with charging, I believe. So should be good now. It should fire up. Let's go ahead and see if that's true. Well, the kill switch didn't work, and it actually shocked not the crap out of me, but it shocked me. What's going on with that? That must be the charging system wire after all. Alright, the thing does run though, and it didn't like super take off. I was kind of more worried about making sure that kill switch worked before it did anything else, but I can reach around and shut it off with the carburetor pretty quick, so let's try it one more time. Controls are still janky, but I was getting it pretty close. It wants to go like this, so we must need to shorten one of the rods up. Yeah, but we're getting close. Sweet. Looks like everything works. Goes forward, goes backwards, lifts up, tilts, although tilt was a little slow. Shoot. I'm getting excited. Alrighty, it's been about 3 weeks since I've worked on this thing, and not much has changed since the last time you guys saw it. So went back over to where I was storing it, and this morning figured out that our kill switch issue was a grounding issue. We had tried to ground out to the dashboard there, and that's not a good ground. So I ran a ground wire all the way back to the solenoid, so we now have a good working kill switch. The only other thing I did off camera was I set it down off the jacks, and obviously brought it in off my trailer, which was nerve-wracking trying to avoid my neighbor's Hellcat, my house, and traffic out on the street there. So I didn't bother filming that, but it did okay. It walked its way right in here. It doesn't seem to have much reverse, so our linkages definitely need some work. But it steers and lifts. It doesn't also want to curl, or it'll curl, it just doesn't have any power to pull the machine off the ground, and it definitely should, especially with a bigger engine. So maybe we're just low on hydraulic oil. I haven't checked that yet. Wanted to get it in here first. We do have a few weeping cylinders. So now that we have it in the garage, we can get to some actual work on this thing and make it hopefully a nicer machine. I'm gonna go drink some water though, because it's hot as hell and I've been stressing out trying to get this thing off the trailer, and yeah. All right, now that I got a little Skeety McGee in the garage, one of the first things I wanted to button up was we pulled the carburetor back off, because if you remember in the first episode of working on this thing, I did not have all the hardware for the carburetor. So we found some genuine Honda hardware on partstree.com, and I think we have everything. We got 2 bolt screws, the missing mounting screw, and hopefully all the choke linkage. So let's go slap this guy back on and see if we can figure out the choke. All right, well, there's really no good way to film in here, but we have our choke linkage over here. That piece did work, and the nice thing is it's spring loaded over here, so it returns the no choke. There is no cable. I think there's a cable, but there's no controller up there. So we'll have to rig something up there. But for now, at least we can continue to run it like this because it'll auto return. We also threw our bolt in, and everything went well there. So engine-wise, we should be buttoned up, except for the wiring that we still need to tie up and make neat. Maybe should add some fuses somewhere in there too, huh? All right, I had to stop by the local Harbor Freight and spend $100 on some wiring supplies. I've been running low for a while, so it's been a long time coming. But we're gonna go ahead and probably use this 1/2 inch, maybe 3/8 loom to run all of our wires from the dashboard up to the engine. Keep it out of the sun and keep it protected. So let's go ahead and throw that on, and then we can button up the dashboard, hopefully. That'll be another thing checked off the list. Alrighty, well, operation wiring cleanup went pretty well. So that's our main harness that runs between our voltage regulator over to the engine. We have everything in a sheath. We have these two green wires. They're not on our schematic for a GX670, so I'm not sure what they do. I need to put some wire nuts on them just in case they have power. Cleaned up some grounds and then put everything in a wire loom through a grommet all the way up to a dashboard, which we tidied up and screwed back on. I don't know what it is about this garage, but the lights in my camera do not get along. That's one thing I hate about. It just have been really bugging me in my videos lately. So I'm always like aiming down here to avoid it. Anyway, off my tangent. So wiring all buttoned up. The next thing we need to do now is get this thing jacked back up and kind of finalize our control placement, get our rods adjusted, all that. To do that, I could jack it up again, but it'd be much easier if I could lift it with the bucket in the front and then jam boards under there. It's really hard to get the jack under it with the bucket on and all that jazz. So to do that, I need to curl the bucket, and to do that, we had to top it off with some liquid dinosaurs. Did a little bit of research. Seems like AW46, which is 20 weight hydraulic oil, seems to be pretty good for these guys. I dumped 2 gallons in it, and we still are not on the sight glass, so this thing's pretty low. Hopefully 2 gallons is enough to give us some of our curl functionality, because we definitely couldn't earlier, or yesterday actually. But we're gonna have to top that off yet again. So let's hop in it and see if we can lift the front end off the ground. All right, so with the bucket now capable of lifting the little skiddy up, we have the tires off the ground again. So I was able to, over the last week or so, I've been tinkering with this thing, getting the sticks dialed in, and we have it pretty good. I can now start the machine, and they say, nice and parallel like that. And I still wouldn't get out of the machine while it's running, but I don't think I'll ever do that on this machine anyway. It's kind of one of those things, you sit in it when you run it. You don't hold it and then get out and like torch something off, whatever. Anyway, so the control's pretty good. Now, I was not able to really fasten down the tower yet because there's like 4 old studs welded to that base plate down there, and they need to be torched out. But this thing needs to be cleaned out and far away from my garage before I do that, because it is a giant drivable skid steer fireball waiting to happen. So for now, we just got it clamped in place, which is good. We could do a little bit more testing. I did actually have to cut off that plate on the back and shove this thing backwards a little bit. So not the end of the world. I would like to have that actually finished, but we'll do that in the future. I think the plan for this machine is it's going to stay around. It's way better than the last Gale I had. And I have a use coming up for it, I hope. So the plan is to keep it around for now. We're just kind of getting this thing all gussied up to use it for something. I think I'm going to haul it out to my buddy Jordan's farm again, just like we did with the Gale, and put it through its paces, kind of see where its issues are before we dive fully into this thing. So today's video, we're just kind of scraping the surface of getting it operating again. So now that our controls are all dialed in, we can unjack it, let it down off the blocks. I don't know what the right terminology is there. And the next thing I want to hop into is getting this thing greased up. And then really, we're pretty close to making this thing operational. I did also figure out the charging system doesn't work. I think I tracked that down to our voltage regulator needs to be replaced. Not a big deal. It's just $80 online, and we'll have that done. Definitely have some hydraulic leaks, but before I go crazy with lines, like I said, just kind of want to get this thing moving, working, get it warmed up, and see where our real problems are. I don't want to dump, a ton of money in hydraulic lines to find that the pump's junk or the drive motors are junk. This thing is still a $400 skid steer, so it could really go either way. We could run into some major issues. So, all right, are they going to take grease? I hope they do. First joint right off the bat's going to fight me, isn't it? Son of a gun. What about this guy? That one took it. All right, 1 out of 2, not bad. All right, that one was kind of tough, but we did finally get it to go in. Nope, these top ones are fighting me. Now that I have a giant glop of grease on here. Get that out of the way so we can pull that Zerk fitting and see if we can clean it up. I don't think I have any spare Zerks here. Packed full of gunk. I don't know if you guys are ever going to be able to see that, but just packed full of dirt pretty much. All right, well, both those back ones are seized up. I tried pulling them off and cleaning them with no luck. So we're going to have to find some new grease Zerks. Let's see what's going on in the front up here. All right, that one took. All right, that one took a minute, but it did end up taking. That joint down there is like blown apart. We got to fix that. What about back here on our lift arms? We should have one snuck up under here somewhere. There he is. It's not easy to get to. All right, we're gonna do those with the loader alarm arms up. What a mess. I am great at making a mess, I tell you what. All right, I think we need to revisit this project tomorrow with some fresh Zerk fittings. And we got to dig into what we can do about this guy. You can see, there's the ball, there's the socket. No bueno. I assume somewhere down on the bottom, we might have to pull the bucket off this thing to find the other Zerks and dig some of that grease chunkies out of there. Otherwise, I think we've hit about everything else. So, all right, I'll see you guys tomorrow with some fresh parts and a fresh attitude. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if I need a fresh attitude, but I'll see you tomorrow. Well, $6 later, it's the next evening. We have a assortment of scrap metrics. This thing's SAE. Dang it, I thought I grabbed the SAE ones. All right, well, that's kind of a fail. We'll see if they still thread in, but I assume this thing's SAE. Whatever. Not how I wanted to start the night off. Okay, I think first things first for tonight, let's pull the bucket off of it. I don't know if we need to start it up to do that or not. And then we'll kind of see what's going on with the attachment system up here, see what we can grease. And I also want to check out the cylinder and see what can be done there. Maybe. There's like no good way to like keep the pins out. I think we almost need to tie a rope to them. I'll be honest, it took a few tries to get the little rope trip to work. Apparently my knot skills are not as good as when I used to be a Boy Scout. All right, maybe that'll stay. Ah, you son of a gun, come on. up with a much better system for detaching that. Crappy time for hydraulic down below. Alright. Alright, this thing's obviously very... Right down. This thing's obviously very greasy, but really not that sloppy. You know, I can't bang the plate around. Still gonna do some excavation though. See what's going on. Really, those are the big ones that I'm concerned about. These cylinder ends. This one's obviously pretty clapped out. I think this cylinder leaks. Really, all the cylinders need to be rebuilt. Looks like I can get the kits to do them for about 45 bucks a piece. Never rebuilt cylinders, but it's something I would like to learn. So I think these are pretty simple. I don't know what kind of wrench you need to undo these. We'll have to figure that one. This one's actually not leaking, so that one could stay. That guy definitely needs rebuilt. I assume just on the amount of goop down here, both of these need to be rebuilt, but like I said, we'll find out by the time we're done testing this thing out. This one definitely leaks. All right, anyway, so when I go to do that, I'll probably just go ahead and replace that joint. Just cut it off and re-weld it. I can TIG weld on a new end onto the cylinder, or maybe I really ought to check and make sure I can't get like a cylinder for like $100. I know people put kind of generic cylinders on here, so I don't know. That's a future problem. I'm just happy to see this thing's not completely worn out, although our pins down here should probably be replaced. There's definitely a wear mark where they ride around in that bucket. This bucket's nice. I mean, that alone's almost worth the purchase price of the skid steer. It's nice and flat, no rust. Just kidding, there's rust right there. But way nicer than the last skid steer bucket we had. That was like, sweet. All right, I'm gonna get to greasing and fixing this cylinder, and I'll pick you guys back up. Stuff looks like horse manure. Disgusting, but it actually kept the joints kind of greased up and nice looking compared to the other ones that were super dry and rusty. So maybe this is a godsend. Oh, you know what? It is horse poop. This came from a horse farm. That's why it looks like horse poop. Duh. Oh man. Now I got poopy in my garage. Man, it's time like these when I'm covered in, 5-year-old hydraulic horse dookie. Why am I this type of YouTuber? Why couldn't I be like working on nice new diesel pickups or Lamborghinis or like a wealth advisor YouTuber? Instead, we're working on $400 junk skid steers, trying to make them usable. And I don't know. That's just what makes me tick. So we're gonna keep doing it. All right, so we got most of the poopy out of here. Still a little bit, but we can let that be. Yeah, like I said, still in pretty nice shape. So now let's see if we can do something about this Johnny joint. I think that's what you call these, but let me know down below if I'm wrong. All right, I'm hoping we can just kind of wedge this guy back into submission. Let's see if the big pry bar will do it. Oh yeah. And there's a nice little chunk of horse poop that just got lodged in there, so hopefully that'll kind of keep it on there, Ooh, we got a little drippage action going on from that block. I don't even know what that is. I guess that's just a right angle port for that line. All right, let's hit it with the grease gun now. Do these not have a joint or a grease fitting? I don't feel a grease fitting on that. Does this guy have a grease joint? Yeah, this one's got one. We gotta curl the bucket to get to that one, huh? All right, whatever. I'm sure as I use this machine, I'll figure out the proper way to, stow it so I can hit every grease fitting easily in one shot. But I do not know that yet. Well, let's revisit this guy from last night and see if we can grease him now. Sweet, got that one. All right, well, all in all, I was able to grease both of those pins there. Like half the ones on the back, half the ones on the front. But I went around and actually just spread grease all over the place, making a huge mess. Because of the joint design here, these Johnny joints, again, I think that's what you call them. You can kind of just wipe grease into them, which is nice. You could not do that with like a standard pin and bore. So I still want to buy the correct Zerk fittings. Those metric ones are not right. And we still need to revisit this. I mean, there's a broken off one in there, broken one off down there. But I think this machine is now ready to be put to work to kind of figure out where its issues still are. In today's video, we got the engine reinstalled, working, fired up, moved into the garage. We got our linkages pretty much dialed in, and then we just went around and greased the whole guy and just kind of got a little more familiar with this unit. Now, there are still plenty of more things to do here, so keep an eye out for this little guy. It's going to stay around for a while unless I find a killer deal on some other machine that I like better. But I do have some plans for projects to use this guy for, and I have plans for making this thing, you know, sprucing it up. I'd like to build a set of forks for it. I'd like to paint it up, make it look nice, and just make it a turnkey, useful machine. Maybe even build a custom tooth bucket. I'm not a big fan of this guy. I'm sure it has good use. That would be kind of nice for brush, but some big plans for this unit. So if you guys enjoyed today's video, I apologize. I would like to test this in today's video, but I am just slap out of time. I need a video for this week, and this guy needed an update on YouTube. It's been like 2 months since I've done a video on this, so I do apologize for not giving you the test run in this video, but I promise we'll have one soon. So until then, I will see you guys on the next one. I need to move some other stuff around. The boat's got to go in the truck. We got a million things to do, and it's still a work night. So I'll see you guys next time.